Hey, welcome to Imagine BL Story. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really encourages my work and helps me bring you more stories. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. There must be a mistake, I told the campus doctor, but my voice cracked on the last word. You're pregnant, she said again, and I watched her face drain of color as she ran the designation test for the fourth time, her hands trembling against the scanner. I'm a beta. Betas can't get pregnant, especially not from alphas. It's medically impossible, written into our biology like gravity or death. My mind raced through every possibility and kept slamming into the same wall. The only person I'd slept with in the last 3 months was Raone, my weird alpha roommate who everyone called defective. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks of staring at the ceiling of our cramped dorm room, feeling nausea that had everything to do with terror. 3 weeks of avoiding Ramone's quiet presence, making excuses about early classes and late study sessions. 3 weeks of baggy hoodies and wondering how long I could hide. I pressed my hand against my stomach, feeling nothing but normal flatness, and tried to reconcile the test results with reality. Pregnant. Me, Carter Benson, the invisible beta who'd spent 3 years fading into the background at Crestwood University, where alphas ruled like kings and omegas were treated like precious jewels and betas were furniture. Useful when needed, forgotten when not. My phone buzzed. Scott's name flashed. Where are you? Need you to pick up my dry cleaning before noon. I stared at the message, feeling something hot and bitter rise in my throat. Scott, my childhood best friend who'd manifested as an alpha at 16 and slowly, methodically, turned me into his personal servant. Him and Dev and Hannah, we'd been inseparable since elementary school, until their designations came in and mine didn't matter anymore. Just grab me a coffee, Carter. Carter, I need this paper done by Friday. Bring my coat. I'll pick you up in a few minutes. Except Scott had left me standing in the cold for 2.5 hours while picking my calls with vague promises. When I'd finally trudged back to the dorm, frozen and humiliated, Raone had been there. Raone who barely spoke. Raone who other alphas avoided because he didn't posture or play their dominance games. Raone who'd requested to live in the beta dorms, the worst housing on campus, instead of the luxurious alpha residence halls. Everyone thought he was defective, broken somehow. But that night, he'd looked up from his computer as I walked in shivering, taken one look at my face, and said quietly, "You don't have to keep doing that." It had been a while I had been comforted like that, and I almost broke down in tears. Raone had gotten up, handed me a towel, made tea without asking. We'd sat in silence, and somehow that silence had been more comforting than any conversation I'd had in years. After that, things shifted between us. Quiet moments became routine, him bringing me food when I forgot to eat, me helping him with laundry. It was easy, comfortable, the first time I'd felt like an actual person instead of a convenient tool. The hookup happened 3 weeks later. I came home after Dev made me clean his entire frat house. Exhausted, degraded, so tired of feeling like nothing. Raone had been at his desk as always, but when I collapsed onto my bed, he'd turned around. "Why do you let them treat you like that?" "Because they're alphas and I'm a beta. That's just how it is." "That's bullshit." I'd actually laughed, bitter and sharp. Easy for an alpha to say. "I'm not." He'd stopped himself, jaw tightening, something flickering in his dark eyes. Then, "You deserve better than this." No one had said that to me in years. Maybe ever. I kissed him. Or he'd kissed me. The details blurred together, but I remembered the desperate edge to it. The way his hands had been surprisingly gentle despite his strength. The way he treated me like I was something precious instead of disposable. We'd fallen into a pattern after that, casual, convenient, secret. I'd needed to feel wanted. And Raone never treated me like a servant or a plaything. He just treated me like I existed. And now I am pregnant with his child, which shouldn't be possible. My phone buzzed again. "Scott. Carter?" "Don't ignore me." I silenced it, pressing my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. The dorm door clicked open. I froze, listening to Ramone's familiar footsteps. He moved to his desk without speaking, giving me space like always. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Raone turned, his expression blank as ever, dark eyes meeting mine with that unnerving focus. "Okay." I stood up, hands shaking. "I went to the campus health center." Something shifted in his expression. Barely noticeable, but I'd learned to read his micro-expressions. That was tension. And his voice remained flat, but there was an edge to it now. I pulled the test results from my pocket, the paper crumpled from being gripped too many times. I'm pregnant. Silence. Heavy and suffocating. Raone didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at me with those dark, unreadable eyes. Okay, he said finally. Good, good. Something hot and vicious flared in my chest. Did you just say good? Yes. He turned back to his desk, picking up a pen like the conversation was over. You should eat something. You haven't been eating properly. I stared at his back, at the rigid line of his shoulders, at the way he was already organizing his notes with that obsessive precision, everything at perfect right angles. The thing about Raone was that he was really weird. He cooked for me every night with mechanical efficiency, never once raised his voice or shown emotion. He was blunt to the point of cruelty, obsessive about order in a way that felt almost inhuman. He'd remake my bed if the corners weren't hospital tight. He took care of me like I was a task on his daily checklist, thorough and methodical and completely emotionless. But this was too much. Did you hear me? My voice cracked, louder now. I said I'm pregnant, Raone. That's impossible. Betas don't get pregnant from alphas. I heard you. He was writing something now, his handwriting perfectly even. And I already knew. The floor dropped out from under me. You knew. Yes. How could you possibly? He set down his pen with deliberate care, turned to face me with that blank, analytical expression. You've been nauseous for 2 weeks. You've been avoiding certain foods. Your scent changed 11 days ago. The probability was high. My hands were shaking. The probability was, are you serious right now? Yes. I just told you I'm carrying something that shouldn't exist and you're acting like I told you we're out of milk. We are out of milk, Raone said calmly. I added it to the shopping list. And that was it. That was the moment where the anger in me finally erupted. I crossed the room in 3 strides and shoved him. Hard. Ramone's back hit the wall with a dull thump, and I pinned him there, my forearm across his chest, all my rage and terror finally finding a target. What are you? I demanded, my face inches from his. Tell me the truth. Right now. Alphas can't get betas pregnant. So either you're not an alpha or... For the first time since I'd known him, something flickered in Ramone's eyes. Not quite emotion, but awareness. I'm not an alpha, he said quietly, his voice still maddeningly calm. I'm an enigma. The word hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Enigma. I jerked back like he'd burned me, my arm dropping. That's not real. Enigmas were myths. Stories the elite alphas whispered about at exclusive parties. Legends about a designation so rare and powerful that most people thought they were extinct. Or had never existed at all. But the way Raone was looking at me now, calm and unflinching, made my blood run cold. They're real, he said simply. No. I shook my head, backing up. People would know. If enigmas existed, people would know. Some people do know. My family. The dean. Now you. My back hit my desk. I gripped the edge, needing something solid. Your family. The dean. What does that even mean? It means my family owns Crestwood University. It means the dean is paid very well to maintain my cover as a defective alpha. Stop. My voice came out strangled. Just stop. But my mind was already racing, pieces clicking into place with sickening clarity. Raone requesting the beta dorms. Raone being avoided by other alphas, not because he was defective, but because something about him registered as wrong. His complete lack of normal alpha behaviors, the way his scent was always somehow muted. The way he'd looked at me that first night, like he'd been studying me. You knew, I whispered. You knew this would happen. You knew you could. That we could. Yes. One word. Flat and emotionless and completely devastating. You knew I'd get pregnant and you didn't tell me. You didn't even warn me. I didn't think it was relevant information at the time. Not relevant? My voice cracked. My entire life is about to implode and you didn't think it was relevant? Raone tilted his head slightly, that analytical expression back in place. We engaged in consensual sexual activity. Pregnancy is a biological outcome. I don't understand why you're upset. I laughed. Actually laughed. High and broken. You don't understand? No. I'm a beta, Raone. Betas don't get pregnant. Do you know what's going to happen when people find out? I'll be expelled. I'll be a medical freak, a campus joke. Scott and Dev and Hannah will destroy me. They won't touch you. How can you possibly? Because I won't let them. Something in his posture shifted. Something that made the air feel heavier. You're carrying my child. No one will touch you. The possessiveness in that statement, delivered in the same tone he'd used to discuss the weather, made my skin crawl. Your child, I repeated slowly. Is that what this is about? You wanted an heir? A science experiment? No. Then why? I demanded, moving closer again, anger overriding fear. Why me? Why not tell me the truth? Why let this happen? I watched Ramone's carefully controlled mask cracked. Just slightly, a tightness around his eyes, a minute shift in his jaw. Because I wanted you, he said quietly. The simple honesty of it stole the breath from my lungs. I wanted you. I watched you for 3 months before we became roommates. Studied your patterns, your behaviors. You were different. You didn't posture or play games. You endured their cruelty with dignity. You were kind even when kindness wasn't returned. You were, he paused, searching for words. Interesting. Interesting, I echoed, feeling numb. You got me pregnant because I was interesting? I got you pregnant because enigmas can only form permanent bonds with partners who carry their children, Raone said, his tone back to that clinical flatness. And I wanted to bond with you. The room spun. I grabbed the desk again, my knuckles white. You trapped me. I initiated a biological process that would lead to our bonding, yes. That's the same thing. No, it's not. Trapping implies force. I didn't force you. You wanted it too. I wanted comfort. I wanted to feel like I mattered for 5 minutes. I didn't consent to this. You didn't ask about potential reproductive outcomes before we had sex. Because it's supposed to be impossible. We stared at each other, the chasm between us growing wider. He didn't get it. Didn't understand what he'd done, what he'd taken from me. To Raone, this was just logic. Biology. A desired outcome achieved through calculated steps. To me, it was the destruction of everything I had left. I can't. My voice broke. I can't do this right now. I need to think. I grabbed my jacket, my keys, my phone. Scott's messages still piling up, unread, and headed for the door. Where are you going? Ramone's voice stopped me, and there was something in it now. Not quite concern, but awareness of distress, maybe. Away from you. I need to be away from you. Carter, don't. I gripped the doorknob so hard it hurt. Just don't. Don't follow me. Don't text me. Don't. Just give me space to process the fact that my entire life is over because you decided I was interesting. I walked out before he could respond, before I could see if that blank mask finally cracked all the way through. The hallway was mercifully empty. I made it to the stairwell before my legs gave out, sinking onto the concrete steps as the full weight of everything crashed over me. I pulled up my contacts, hovering over Scott's name, then Dev's, then Hannah's, people who used to be my whole world, who I'd spent 3 years serving and scraping to, hoping they'd remember we used to be friends. People who would drop me the second I became inconvenient. I closed my contacts without calling anyone. The stairwell was cold and concrete and empty, and I sat there as the afternoon light faded through the narrow windows, trying to figure out how I was supposed to survive this. I avoided Raone for 2 days. It wasn't hard. He had classes in the engineering building while I haunted the library, pretending the nausea was just stress. When I returned to the dorm, I waited until past midnight and slipped in quietly. Except Raone didn't sleep like normal people. The first night, I found a covered plate on my desk. Chicken and rice, still warm, with a note in his precise handwriting. You need to eat. The baby needs nutrients. I'd thrown the note away and forced myself to eat the food, hating how good it tasted. The second night, there were prenatal vitamins next to the plate. No note this time. I took them. By the third day, Scott's patience ran out. Where the hell have you been? He demanded when I finally answered his call. I've been texting you for days. Sorry, I don't care. Get to the house. We're having people over tonight and the place is a disaster. My stomach churned. Scott, I really can't. Can't? Since when do you tell me you can't? 1 hour, Carter. And bring beer. He hung up. I stared at my phone, feeling that familiar weight settle over me. The weight of obligation, of not being allowed to say no. You don't have to keep doing that. Ramone's voice echoed in my head. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Raone was at his desk. He looked up as I passed. Where are you going? Out. I didn't stop walking. Carter. Something in his tone made me pause. Scott needs me. I said without turning around. Silence. Heavy and dangerous. You're not going. I turned slowly, disbelief warring with anger. Excuse me? Raone stood, the movement too smooth, too controlled. Predatory. You're exhausted. You haven't been eating properly. You're in no condition to. To what? Serve my masters? That's my job, Raone. That's all I'm good for. That's not true. Isn't it? You wanted me because I was interesting. Scott keeps me around because I'm useful. At least Scott is honest about what I am to him. Something flickered across Ramone's face. If I didn't know better, I'd call it hurt. I left before he could respond. The frat house was exactly as disgusting as expected. Empty bottles everywhere. Suspicious stains. The thick scent of alpha pheromones making my already sensitive stomach revolt. About time, Scott said, appearing with Dev and Hannah flanking him. You've been weird lately. Distant. Just stressed. Midterms. Well, stress or not, the bathroom needs cleaning. Someone puked in there last night. I spent the next 3 hours cleaning, fetching, serving. Every time I bent over, nausea rolled through me. Every time someone brushed past me, I had to fight not to vomit. I looked exactly like what I was. Someone breaking apart from the inside out. Carter. Scott's voice cut through my thoughts. We need more ice. The kitchen was blessedly empty. I leaned against the counter, breathing through my mouth. My phone buzzed. Raone, come home. I stared at the message, something hot and complicated twisting in my chest. Raone, please. I'd never seen him use that word before. Me can't. Not done yet. The reply came instantly. You're not their servant. Me, yes I am. I am literally being paid for this, so let me do my job. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then nothing. Carter? What's taking so long? I shoved my phone away as Dev appeared in the doorway, his alpha scent washing over me in a wave that made my vision blur. Sorry, just getting the ice. You look like hell. You sick or something? No, I'm fine. Because if you're contagious, you shouldn't be here. We've got important people coming tonight. I'm not contagious. I needed to get out of here. Needed to go home, hide. Figure out how to disappear before my body betrayed me to everyone. But Scott's voice was calling my name again. By the time I stumbled back to the dorm at 2 a.m., I was barely holding it together. The lights were still on. Raone sat at his desk, but he wasn't working. Just sitting there, rigid and still, like he'd been waiting. When I walked in, his head snapped up, and the look in his eyes made me stop. I called you 7 times. You didn't answer. I was about to come find you. I told you I was fine. You're not fine. He stood abruptly, crossing the space between us in 3 strides. You're exhausted. You're malnourished. Your scent is... He stopped himself, jaw clenching. My scent is what? Distressed. The word came out rough. You smell distressed and it's intolerable. I laughed, the sound brittle. Intolerable. That's the word you're going with. Yes. Not concerning or worrying. Intolerable. Because that's what it is. You're carrying my child and letting those people destroy you. And I can't. He stopped, something raw flashing across his face. I can't tolerate it. So what? You're gonna control that too? Like you controlled getting me pregnant. His jaw tightened. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? We stood there, inches apart, the air crackling with everything unsaid. I brought you food, he said finally, gesturing to the desk where another covered plate waited. And I researched beta pregnancies. You need to sleep on your left side. It's better for blood flow. Of course he'd researched it. Of course he was still taking care of me with that same mechanical precision. I don't want your food, I lied. Yes, you do. He moved past me to the desk, removing the cover. You haven't eaten since breakfast. Your body needs. Stop. The word came out as a plea. Stop taking care of me like I'm a project. Like I'm something you can fix with the right calculations. Raone went still, his back to me. That's not what you are to me, he said quietly. Then what am I? He turned, and the look in his eyes was so intense it stole my breath. I don't know how to explain it. When you're gone, the room feels wrong. When you're in distress, I can't focus on anything else. When I think about those people hurting you, I want to destroy them. Is it what they call love? My heart was pounding. That's not love, Raone. That's possession. I know. The admission was stark, honest. I don't know what love is. I've never felt it. But I know that you're mine. and the thought of anyone else touching you, hurting you, makes me—" He stopped, something dark and desperate in his expression. "I'm not good at this, at emotions, at any of it, but I'm trying." The worst part was I believed him. I sank onto my bed, suddenly boneless with exhaustion. "I don't know how to do this, any of this." "Then we figure it out together." "How can we figure it out together when I can't even trust you?" The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Raone actually flinched, and I realized I'd hurt him. "I understand," he said finally, "but I need you to eat. Please." It wasn't a command. It was a request, raw and genuine. I ate the pasta. Raone sat at his desk, pretending to work but actually watching me from the corner of his eye. When I was done, he took the plate without a word and started washing it. "You don't have to do that," I said. "I know." "Then why?" "Because taking care of you is the only thing that makes sense right now. Everything else is confusing. But this I understand. You need food, I provide food. It's simple." "Nothing about this is simple." "No," he agreed quietly. "But I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. For both of us." I lay back on my bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to reconcile the Raone who'd manipulated me into pregnancy with the Raone who was washing dishes at 2 a.m. My phone buzzed. "Scott. Need you at the house by 10 tomorrow. Don't be late." I silenced it and closed my eyes, feeling exhaustion pull me under. The last thing I heard before sleep took me was Ramone's quiet voice. "I won't let them hurt you anymore." I wanted to tell him he couldn't promise that he didn't have that kind of power. But part of me, a desperate, broken part, wanted to believe him anyway. The following weeks were a mess. Raone and I existed in the same small space but orbited each other like planets on different trajectories, close enough to feel the gravitational pull but never quite touching. Except he kept leaving food, kept researching symptoms and leaving printed articles on my desk, kept rearranging my schedule to make sure I had time to rest between Scott's increasingly demanding texts. And I kept pretending I didn't notice, didn't care, didn't feel something warm and complicated bloom in my chest every time I found evidence of his obsessive caretaking. But my body was changing. The nausea got worse, throwing up in bathrooms across campus. The exhaustion was crushing. I fell asleep everywhere. The library, lectures, once even standing up in the shower until the water ran cold. And my clothes were getting tighter. I bought bigger hoodies, wore layers, avoided mirrors, avoided questions, avoided thinking about the inevitable moment when hiding became impossible. Scott noticed. "You're being weird," he said one afternoon when I showed up to help him move furniture. "More weird than usual. Just tired. You're always tired lately." His eyes narrowed. "And you're getting fat." The word hit like a physical blow. "I'm not. Your face is puffy. Your stomach's soft." He poked my side hard enough to hurt. "Seriously, Carter, you need to take better care of yourself. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing. Like my body changing was something I was doing to him. How long before he figured it out? How long before everyone knew? The breaking point came on a Thursday. I was in the dorm trying to study when the cramping started. Sharp, stabbing pains in my lower abdomen that made me gasp. I pressed my hand to my stomach, feeling panic claw up my throat. "No, no, no." The dorm door opened. Raone took one look at me and crossed the room in an instant. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, I'm fine." Another cramp, harder this time, and I couldn't suppress the whimper. "Where does it hurt?" His hands hovered over me, not quite touching. His face more expressive than I'd ever seen it. Tight with something that looked almost like fear. "My stomach. It's probably nothing. We're going to the hospital." "No, we can't. If we go, they'll run tests, they'll figure out." "I don't care." "Raone, please. Your health is more important than keeping secrets." His voice was firm, that flat effect completely gone. "If something's wrong with you or the baby, I need to know." The cramping was getting worse. I curled forward, breathing through my teeth. "I'm scared." Something shifted in Ramone's expression. He knelt in front of me, his hands finally making contact. One on my knee, one carefully, gently on my abdomen. "I know," he said quietly, "but I'm here, and I won't let anything happen to you." The certainty in his voice made something in my chest crack open. "Promise. Promise." He called a car, helped me down the stairs with surprising gentleness, kept his hand on my back the whole ride, a steady pressure that anchored me. The urgent care doctor was a middle-aged beta man who took one look at the test results and went pale. You're pregnant. I know. But you're a beta. I know. He ran more tests. Raone stood beside me the whole time, his hand gripping mine. Finally, the doctor looked up. The baby's fine. Heartbeat is strong. The cramping is likely just your body adjusting. Beta physiology isn't designed for pregnancy, so there will be discomfort. Discomfort, I repeated numbly. I'm prescribing something for the pain, and you need to reduce your stress levels immediately. This pregnancy is already high risk given your designation. Any additional strain could be dangerous. How dangerous? He hesitated. Beta pregnancies are virtually unheard of. I've never seen one in my 15 years of practice. But based on what I know, carrying to term will put significant strain on your body. You need to prioritize rest, nutrition, and avoiding physical or emotional stress. I thought about Scott's texts, his demands, the endless hours of servitude. That's not possible, I whispered. Then you need to make it possible. Because right now, both you and your baby are at risk. Raone was silent on the ride back. When we got to the dorm, he sat me on the bed and knelt in front of me again. You can't go back to them. Raone. No. His voice was quiet but inflexible. You heard the doctor. The stress is dangerous. Scott and the others, what they demand from you. It's killing you. I can't just stop. They're my friends. They're not your friends. His hands tightened on my knees. Friends don't treat you like a servant. Friends don't put your life at risk for their convenience. They're using you, Carter. And if you keep letting them, you or the baby or both of you will die. The bluntness hit like ice water. I've been researching. He pulled out his phone, showing me bookmarked articles. Beta bodies aren't designed for this. Every additional stressor increases the risk of complications. Preterm labor, placental abruption, hemorrhage. Stop. Covered my ears. I don't want to hear this. You need to hear this. He pulled my hands down gently but firmly. This isn't about pride or friendship. This is about survival. Yours and our child's. Our child. The way he said it, with such absolute certainty, made something in my chest tighten. I don't know how to say no to them, I admitted, the words coming out broken. I've spent 3 years learning how to serve them. It's all I know how to do. Then learn something new. He reached up, cupping my face with surprising gentleness. Learn how to put yourself first. Learn how to let someone take care of you. You mean let you control me? No. I mean let me protect you. Let me handle them. Let me make sure you and the baby are safe. By doing what? Revealing what you are. If necessary. Yes. The certainty was terrifying and seductive. I can't let you do that. This is my problem. You're carrying my child. That makes it my problem too. He leaned closer. And I take care of what's mine. I'm not yours. Yes, you are. No hesitation. No doubt. You've been mine since the moment I decided I wanted you. The pregnancy just made it official. I should have been angry, should have shoved him away. Instead, I felt something desperate and dangerous unfurl in my chest. Something that wanted to believe someone could actually want me enough to fight for me. This is so messed up, I whispered. I know. His hand slid to the back of my neck, holding me in place. But it's ours, and I'm not letting anyone take it away. My phone buzzed. Scott's name lit up the screen. Party Friday. Need you here at 4 to set up. No excuses. Ramone's eyes flicked to the phone, then back to me. Something dark and predatory moved through his expression. Tell him no. I can't. Tell him no or I will. The threat hung in the air, and I knew that if Raone got involved, it wouldn't end well. For anyone. I'll handle it, I said quickly. How? I don't know, but I'll figure something out. Raone watched me for a long moment. Then he stood, moving back to his desk. You have until Friday, he said quietly. After that, I handle it my way. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. And somehow that made it worse. Friday came too fast. I told myself I wouldn't go. Rehearsed the text to Scott a dozen times. Can't make it. Sorry. But when 3:45 rolled around, I was pulling on my baggiest hoodie and walking out the door. Raone looked up from his desk. Didn't say anything. Just watched me leave with those dark, unreadable eyes. The disappointment in his silence hurt more than any words could have. Alpha Phi Prime was already chaos when I arrived. Finally, Scott grabbed my arm, dragging me inside. We've got 200 people coming and the place looks like shit. Get started. I spent the next 4 hours drowning in their demands, carrying cases of beer that made my back scream, scrubbing bathrooms while alphas shoved past me, hauling trash bags that were too heavy, bending over counters that made the cramping start again. My hoodie was soaked with sweat. My hands shook. Every smell, alcohol, pheromones, cheap cologne, made my stomach churn. Carter. More ice. Carter. The keg's empty. Carter, you look like death. Try not to be so pathetic. That last one was Hannah, laughing with her Omega friends while I stumbled past with another case of bottles. By midnight, the party was in full swing and I was barely standing. I made it to the kitchen, gripping the counter, breathing through waves of nausea. Well, Wyatt's voice made me freeze. The rugby captain filled the doorway, Scott beside him, both reeking of alcohol and alpha pheromones that made my head swim. Look who's taking a break. I'm not. I was just. You've been weird lately, Scott said, moving closer. Really weird. Avoiding us. Acting all secretive. I'm not. And you've gotten fat. Wyatt laughed, moving to block the other exit. Seriously, man. What happened to you? My heart was pounding. Nothing happened. I'm just tired. You're always tired. Scott grabbed my arm, his grip bruising. What are you hiding? Nothing. Wyatt moved faster than I could track. His hand fisted in my hoodie, yanking it up before I could stop him. Time stopped. The small, undeniable curve of my stomach was suddenly visible. Not huge, not obvious under normal clothes, but unmistakable. Silence crashed through the kitchen like a physical force. What the hell? Scott whispered. Holy shit. Wyatt's laugh was ugly, disbelieving. Are you pregnant? No. You're freaking pregnant. Scott's voice rose to a shout. How is that? You're a beta. Betas don't. It's a mistake. The tests were wrong. Tests. Scott's face twisted with rage. You knew? Do you have any idea how this makes us look? People are going to think we've been hanging around with a pregnant beta. A freak. Do you know what that does to our reputation? Scott, please. Who was it? Wyatt grabbed my other arm. Which alpha knocked you up? You disgust me. Scott slammed me against the wall. Hard. My head cracked against the tile and stars exploded across my vision. 3 years we kept you around. And this is how you repay us. The shove had hurt. More than hurt. Pain radiated through my abdomen where I'd hit the counter edge. Please, my voice broke. The baby. The baby? Like anyone gives a shit about your freak baby. He started dragging me toward the main room. Everyone needs to see what you really are. Terror locked my throat. 200 people. Everyone would see. Everyone would know. My life was over. The kitchen door exploded inward. The wood literally splintered off the hinges, and Raone stood in the doorway. Except he didn't look like Raone anymore. His eyes were black. Completely black, pupils blown so wide there was no color left. His face was set in lines of cold, lethal fury. And the air around him, the air changed. Pheromones hit like a physical wall. Not alpha pheromones. Something older, deeper, primal in a way that made every instinct scream danger. Wow, you've made it this far. If you're enjoying the story and still haven't subscribed, please take a second to do so. It means a lot. Also, drop a comment and let us know where you're listening from. Alright, let's get back to the story. Scott's grip on me went slack. He was choking, gasping, his knees buckling. Wyatt made a strangled sound and dropped. Actually dropped, slamming to his knees on the tile like someone had cut his strings. Every alpha in range of those pheromones, at least 20 of them, collapsed. Some fell to their knees. Some hit the ground completely, gasping like fish out of water. The omegas whimpered and flattened against walls. Even the betas felt it, crushing pressure on my chest, making it hard to breathe, except it wasn't crushing me. The pheromones wrapped around me like a shield, protective instead of threatening, claiming instead of attacking. Raone walked forward slowly. Each step made the pressure intensify. People were crying now, some of the weaker alphas literally sobbing with instinctive terror. You put your hands on him. Ramone's voice was barely recognizable. Low and cold and absolutely lethal. Scott couldn't speak, could barely breathe. His face was white, eyes wide with fear. What? He gasped. What are you? Raone didn't answer. He grabbed Scott by the throat with one hand, lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing, and threw him. Scott's body flew across the kitchen and crashed into the table. The wood exploded under the impact, bottles shattering. Scott lay in the wreckage, not moving, blood streaming from his nose. Wyatt tried to run. Raone moved faster than should be possible, caught him mid-step, spun him around, and slammed him into the ground so hard the floor tiles cracked. He didn't get up. Dev appeared in the doorway, took one look at the scene and ran. Smart. The entire party had gone silent. 200 people frozen in absolute terror, watching this defective alpha dismantle the two strongest alphas on campus like they were children. Ramone's eyes swept the crowd. Anyone else? No one moved. Then he walked to me, and his expression shifted. The cold fury melted into something gentler as he looked at me slumped against the wall, shaking, barely conscious. "I've got you," he said quietly. Then he scooped me up bridal style, one arm under my knees, one supporting my back, like I weighed nothing. The gentleness after the violence was jarring. He turned back to the frozen crowd, his voice dropping to something that promised violence. "If I hear anyone so much as whisper his name, I'll know. And I'll come back." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Then he carried me out through the silent, staring crowd. People pressed against walls to let us pass, some of them still on their knees. No one spoke. No one moved. I buried my face in Ramone's chest and felt his heartbeat. Steady, controlled, completely calm despite what he'd just done. And something inside me finally broke. I started crying. Couldn't stop. Great, heaving sobs that shook my whole body. Raone just held me tighter and kept walking. Back in the dorm, he set me on the bed with infinite care. Checked me over for injuries, his hands gentle but thorough. "Does anything hurt?" My head, my stomach, everything. His jaw clenched. "I should have killed them. Raone. They hurt you. They hurt the baby." His voice was still that low, dangerous rumble. "Nothing else matters." Everyone saw. The reality was crashing down. Everyone knows now. About the pregnancy. About you. Everything. I know. Your family. The secret. I don't care. He cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. And for the first time since I'd known him, there was raw, unfiltered emotion there. "They hurt you. They hurt what's mine. I would burn down the entire university before I let them touch you again." The fierce certainty in his voice made my breath catch. "You can't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life." His thumb brushed my cheekbone, wiping away tears. "You're mine, Carter. Mine to protect. Mine to care for. Mine to keep safe. And anyone who tries to hurt you will learn exactly what an enigma can do." This is insane. Yes. He leaned closer, his forehead resting against mine. "But it's ours. And I'm done hiding." I woke up the next morning to my phone exploding. Literally hundreds of notifications. Texts, calls, social media mentions, all flooding in faster than I could process. "Did you see what happened at Alpha Phi? Carter Benson is pregnant. That defective alpha destroyed Scott and Wyatt. What the actual hell is Raone Castillon?" I turned my phone face down and tried to pretend the world wasn't ending. By evening, I found myself in the dean's office. She sat behind her massive desk, perfectly composed, but her eyes were hard when they landed on me. "Mr. Benson, sit," she said. I sat. She steepled her fingers, studying me. "I'm going to be direct. What happened last night was a disaster. Raone Castillon's identity was meant to remain confidential. The arrangement between his family and this university depends on discretion. I didn't know he was going to." I started. "I'm aware." The dean cut in. Raone acted impulsively, emotionally, two things enigmas are not known for. Her eyes narrowed. "You're pregnant." It wasn't a question. "Yes," I said. "With his child." "Yes." She was quiet for a long moment. "Do you understand what that means? An enigma bonding with a beta? It's unheard of. Enigma families have very specific expectations about bloodlines. This pregnancy complicates things significantly." "I didn't ask for this," I said. "No, I imagine you didn't." Something almost like sympathy flickered across her face. "The Castillon family will be arriving next week. They'll want to assess the situation. Assess you. I'm offering you an out. We can arrange a private dorm, away from Raone. Medical care. Financial support." "No," I said before I could think about it. Dean Morrison raised an eyebrow. "No, I'm not leaving. We'll figure it out together." She studied me for another long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well. But understand, things are going to change. Dramatically. Ramone's identity is no longer secret. People know what he is, what his family controls. And you're connected to that now whether you like it or not. I understand, I said. I hope you do, Mr. Benson, because the world you knew yesterday no longer exists. She was right. By Monday, campus had transformed. People stared now, not with casual dismissal, but with fascination. Hunger. Calculation. Students I'd never spoken to suddenly wanted to chat. Asked how I was feeling. Offered to carry my books. The whispers followed me everywhere. That's him. The one carrying the enigma's baby. His family owns the whole university. I heard they're worth billions. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages from people I barely knew. Old acquaintances. Distant relatives who'd never cared about me before. And then there were Scott, Dev, and Hannah. Scott texted first. Hey man, can we talk? I think there was a misunderstanding. Then Dev miss hanging out. Coffee sometime? Hannah was more direct. We should catch up. I feel like we've grown apart. I stared at the messages, something bitter rising in my throat. They'd spent 3 years treating me like a servant. And now they wanted to be friends again. When Scott called, I answered. Carter. Hey, I'm so glad you picked up. Listen, about Friday night, Scott said. You slammed me into a wall. I said. Silence. Then Scott continued. I was drunk. I didn't mean look, I was shocked. Okay? Finding out like that was just. You called me a freak. You were going to drag me in front of everyone to humiliate me. I was angry. You have to understand, it was a lot to process. And now you want to be friends again, I said. Another pause from Scott. We've always been friends, Carter. Since we were kids. Yeah. Things got weird after we manifested. But. Weird. I interrupted. You made me your errand boy for 3 years, Scott. You paid me to do your homework, clean your house, fetch your coffee. And you're calling that weird? We were helping you. Your own family ignored you. We gave you work when no one else would, Scott argued. The words hit like a slap because they were true. My family spent their fortune on my Omega younger brothers, the ones who mattered, who could be marketed to wealthy alphas. I was the beta, the boring one. They paid my tuition barely, gave me just enough to survive. The rest I had to earn myself. And Scott, Dev, and Hannah had offered exactly that. Money in exchange for servitude. You didn't help me, I said quietly. You exploited me. There's a difference. Oh, come on, Scott started. You treated me like I was nothing, like I should be grateful you let me exist in your space. And now that I'm connected to Raone, suddenly I matter? Suddenly I'm worth your time. That's not. Look, I know we weren't perfect, but we were friends. And friends forgive each other, right? Scott said desperately. Stay away from me, Scott. I mean it. You, Dev, Hannah, all of you. Stay away from me. I hung up before he could respond. My hands shaking with 3 years of swallowed resentment. The dorm door opened. Raone walked in, took one look at my face, and crossed the room immediately. What happened? He asked. Scott called. Wants to be friends again now that he knows who you are. Ramone's expression went cold. What did you tell him? To stay away. I laughed, sharp and bitter. They're going to keep trying. Everyone who ignored me before is going to want access now. Let them try, Raone said, his voice dropping to that dangerous rumble. I'll make it very clear who you belong to. He wasn't kidding. By Tuesday, everyone knew that Raone Castellón, Enigma, heir to a billion-dollar empire, owner of Crestwood University, had claimed Carter Benson. The way people moved when I walked down the hall, the deference in their eyes, the carefully neutral greetings. It all screamed untouchable. Raone made sure I was never alone, walking me to classes, picking me up after, sitting with me in the library. His presence was a silent declaration. Mine. When Scott tried to approach me once in the quad, Raone appeared out of nowhere, stepping between us with that blank expression that somehow conveyed lethal intent. Scott backed off without a word. You can't intimidate everyone who tries to talk to me, I said after Scott scurried away. Watch me, Raone said with a fierceness that left no room for doubt. That week, the nightmares started. I'd wake up gasping, feeling phantom hands shoving me into walls, hearing Scott's voice calling me a freak. Every time, Raone was there, pulling me against his chest, his heartbeat steady. You're safe, he'd murmur. I've got you. And the thing was, I believed him. The third night it happened, I didn't pull away after. Just stayed there, pressed against him. I can't sleep without you anymore, I admitted quietly. Is that normal? For an enigma bond? Yes, Raone said, his hand moving to my hair. Your body recognizes mine as safe, as home. I hate that you knew this would happen. I know, but I can't regret it. Not when it means you're here. I tilted my head up, barely able to see his face in the dim light. I'm still angry with you. I know, he said softly, but I don't want to be alone. You're not alone. You'll never be alone again. I felt warmth fluttering in my chest, so I leaned up and kissed him. Different from before, gentle and searching. Raone made a sound, almost surprised, and kissed me back with the same intensity. When we broke apart, I was breathless. Stay. In my bed. Just stay. He didn't hesitate, climbing into the narrow mattress with me, arranging us so I was tucked against his chest. Better? He asked. Yeah, this is better. The intimacy became routine after that. Ramone's hand finding mine between classes, his arm around my shoulders in the library, the way he'd pull me into his lap while studying. You're very tactile suddenly, I observed one evening. Enigmas need physical contact with their bonded partners. It's instinct, Raone explained. Does it bother you? No, I like it. Is that weird? It's the bond forming. Your body wants mine close. Everything with you is biology. I laughed. Not everything. His voice softened. This wanting to hold you even when it's not necessary, thinking about you constantly, feeling content when you're near, that's not biology. That's something else. Love, I offered, half joking. He was quiet for so long I thought I'd made it weird. Then he said, maybe, I don't know what love feels like. But if it's this, wanting you safe and happy and close, then yes. My throat tightened. That's probably the most romantic thing you've ever said. Was it good? He asked. Yeah, Raone. It was good. That night I couldn't sleep. Not from nightmares, but from restless energy. Raone noticed immediately. What's wrong? Your family's coming tomorrow. Yes. What if they don't accept me? Raone set down his book, giving me his full attention. Then I cut them off. Completely. You can't do that. Watch me. He crossed to my bed, sitting on the edge. Carter, listen to me. My family doesn't dictate my life. I chose you, and I will choose you over them every single time. But they're your family. You're my family now. You and our child. That's what matters. I pulled him down into a kiss. Deeper this time, urgent. He responded immediately, kissing me back like he was drowning and I was air. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Stay with me tonight, I said. Really stay. Not just holding me. I need to feel close to you. Understanding flickered in his eyes. Are you sure? You're pregnant, and I don't want to risk. I'm sure. Please. What happened next was gentle, reverent. Raone handled me with exquisite care, his flat effect cracking completely as he gasped against my skin. His body trembling with the effort of staying controlled when everything between us felt like fire. After, lying tangled together, his hand resting protectively on my small bump, I felt something shift inside me. I forgive you, I whispered into the darkness. His breath caught. What? For not telling me. For the manipulation. I forgive you. I turned to face him. It doesn't mean it was okay, but I understand why you did it. And I'm choosing to move forward. Ramone's eyes were bright in the darkness. Suspiciously bright. I don't deserve that. Probably not. I kissed him softly. But I'm giving it anyway. He pulled me closer, his face buried in my neck. I'll spend the rest of my life making this right. I promise. I know, I said, holding him tighter. I believe you. His family arrived Friday morning. 3 black cars pulled up to the administration building. I watched from our dorm window, feeling my stomach twist with nerves. They look terrifying, I said. They are terrifying. Raone stood behind me, his arms wrapped around my waist, chin resting on my shoulder. But they can't touch you. I won't let them. What if they try to take the baby? They'll fail. His voice was absolutely certain. You're mine, Carter, and I protect what's mine. I leaned back against him, drawing strength from his steady presence. The meeting with Ramone's family was every nightmare I'd imagined. His mother, elegant, cold, wearing diamonds worth more than my entire existence, looked at me like I was dirt on her shoe. His father didn't even acknowledge I was in the room. And his older brother Roland kept asking pointed questions about my background and lineage like I was livestock. A beta, his mother said, the word dripping with disdain. From a family with no connections, no wealth, no value. This is what you chose. Raone? Yes. Ramone's hand tightened on mine. This is what I chose. You could have had anyone. Omega heirs from the finest families. Instead you got some poor nobody pregnant. I felt myself shrinking, all the old patterns of worthlessness flooding back. I'm not nobody, I said, but my voice came out small. Ramone's hand squeezed mine harder. Carter carries my child. That makes him family. And if you can't accept that... Oh, calm down, little brother. Roland leaned back with an infuriating smirk. You should run. Take your beta and disappear before mother eats him alive. I'm not running, Raone said. Really? Because I would. Though I have to say I like him. Anyone who can get you to show actual emotion is impressive. His mother's lips twitched, almost like she was fighting a smile. His father finally looked at me. Really looked at me. You're the one who tamed him. What? I said. Raone, my son. The most difficult, emotionally detached, impossible child I've ever raised. And you got him to care. I glanced at Raone, confused. His mother set down her teacup with deliberate care. Do you know how many specialists we consulted? Therapists, doctors, experts who all said the same thing. Enigmas don't bond emotionally. They choose strategically. They don't feel. And yet, his father continued. Here he is, fretting over you, fighting his family for you, choosing you over everything. You performed a miracle, Mr. Benson. Wait, what? You were testing me? I said slowly. His mother's facade cracked completely. She smiled, genuinely smiled, and it transformed her entire face. Of course we were testing you. We had to know if you could handle this family, if you'd crumble under pressure or stand your ground. You stood your ground, his father added approvingly. Barely, but you did. Roland was outright laughing now. The look on your faces, priceless. I looked at Raone. He rolled his eyes. You accept me? I asked. Accept you. His mother stood, crossing the room to cup my face with surprising gentleness. Darling boy, you gave me hope that my son won't die alone and emotionally stunted. You're carrying my first grandchild. She kissed my forehead. Welcome to the family. The shift was immediate and overwhelming. Ramone's mother, call me Rachel, dear, started visiting weekly, bringing food, baby supplies, advice. His father, Richard, set up a trust fund for the baby, hired the best doctors. Roland turned out to be genuinely fun, irreverent and sharp-tongued, but protective. You're good for him, Roland told me once. Raone actually listens to you. Do you know how insane that is? Raone started opening up, attending family dinners, calling his mother just to talk. All because I was there, bridging the gap. You're the interpreter, Rachel said fondly. You translate him to us and us to him. You made him human. My status changed overnight. Suddenly I was Carter Castillon Benson, partner to an enigma, beloved by one of the wealthiest families in the country. Old acquaintances started reaching out. Distant relatives suddenly remembered I existed. And Scott, Dev, and Hannah began a campaign of texts and calls. I ignored them all. When our daughter was born through an excruciating process that nearly took my life, the Castillon family threw a celebration that made the society pages. The family estate was transformed. Hundreds of elite guests, champagne towers, live music. Rachel had spared no expense. I stood near the entrance with Raone, our daughter Hope sleeping peacefully in his arms, greeting guests. Then the security guard approached. Sir, there are people at the gate claiming to know you. They're quite insistent. My stomach dropped. Who? A Scott Morrison, a Dev Patel, and a Hannah Ming. Also a Mr. and Mrs. Benson. They say they're your parents. Ramone's jaw tightened. Do you want me to handle it? I looked at our daughter, at the life we'd built, at the family who'd actually chosen to love me. No, I said quietly. I'll handle it. They were all there at the gate, dressed in their finest, trying to look like they belonged. Scott saw me first. His face lit up. Carter, thank God. There's been some mistake. We're on the list, we should be. You're not on the list, I said. His smile faltered. What? Come on, man, we're friends. No, we're not. My parents pushed forward. My mother reached for me. Carter, sweetheart. We've been trying to reach you. Have you? Funny. You've had my number for 5 years. Never called. Not once. We wanted to give you space. she started. You wanted to ignore me until I became useful. I looked at all of them, Scott, Dev, Hannah, my parents, even my 2 Omega brothers hovering behind them. Carter, please, Scott tried again. We made mistakes, but we can fix this. I don't want to fix it. I turned to the security guard. These people aren't on the guest list. They're not family. They're not friends. They're strangers. Carter, my mother's voice cracked. We're your parents. No, you're people who share my DNA. I looked at each of them. You had your chance. All of you. You chose to treat me like I was worthless, like I was invisible. And now that I'm connected to wealth and power, you want in. That's not fair, Dev started. Fair. I laughed, bitter and sharp. You made your choices. Now live with them. I turned to the guard. None of these people are allowed on the property. Now or ever. Understood, sir. I walked back toward the mansion, their voices calling after me. Pleading, angry, desperate. I didn't look back. Raone met me at the door, Hope still sleeping in his arms. How do you feel? Free, I said and meant it. I feel free. He kissed me softly. Good. Now come inside. My mother wants to show off her granddaughter to everyone. I laughed, taking his hand, and walked back into the warmth and light of a family that had actually chosen to love me. 5 years later, we lived in a beautiful home, not as massive as the Castillon estate, but ours. Raone taught at the university and consulted for his family's company. I'd finished my master's degree and started my own firm, helping underprivileged betas access education. Hope was starting kindergarten, brilliant and stubborn and absolutely adored by her grandparents. Our son James was 2 and already showing signs of Ramone's analytical mind. Sunday dinners at the Castillon estate became tradition. Rachel would cook elaborate meals while Roland entertained the kids and Richard gave Raone advice he'd actually take now. I'd become the bridge Raone needed, helping him navigate emotions, translating his flat affect, making him more present than he'd ever been. One evening, tucking Hope into bed, she asked the question I'd been dreading. Daddy, why don't we see Grandma and Grandpa Benson? I glanced at Raone, who was reading James a story on the floor. He met my eyes, leaving the decision to me. Because, I said carefully, family isn't always about blood. It's about who loves you, who supports you, who chooses you every day. Like Papa's family? Hope asked. Exactly like that. And like how Papa chose you? Yes, he chose me when no one else did. And I chose him back. That's what makes us family. She considered this with the seriousness only a 5-year-old could muster. I'm glad he chose you, Daddy. You make him smile. My chest tightened. He makes me smile too, baby. After we put the kids to bed, Raone tugged me into his arms, nestling his face into my neck and pressing a kiss to my temple. I love you, Carter, he said. I don't say it enough, but I do. You're everything. I love you too, even when you're being analytically frustrating. He laughed. A real, genuine laugh that still surprised me sometimes. I'm working on it. We stood there in comfortable silence. 2 impossible people who'd found each other against all odds. The invisible beta and the emotionally detached enigma, who'd somehow built a real family, messy and imperfect and still figuring things out, but happy. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the story, tell us your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time, keep daydreaming in BL.